been quite a bit of time since we covered COD fully. Not since the launch of Black Ops 7, but today, Modern Warfare 4 was confirmed and revealed, bringing with it a lot of details to discuss from campaign, multiplayer, and even the confirmation that DMZ is returning as a third mode. Not a whole ton in relation to that was revealed just yet, but today we're going to share what I've learned from a more in-depth breakdown than what we saw in the trailers and even some of the blog posts that have released already today as a part of a virtual press briefing. I wasn't at the studio, didn't get any hands-on or anything like that, like other creators have and like I have in the past, but these details go a bit further than the top level and surface of what was showcased. Full transparency, I know like a lot of you, it's been a long history with Call of Duty. There's been plenty of moments of feeling jaded, frustrations, or what have you. I mean, we've covered COD primarily on the channel here for 13 years and just kind of stepped away in the past year or so because I just wasn't enjoying it at any given moment, and more so in the case of Black Ops 7, it didn't feel that spark from a refined version of the game that I had played the year prior. It's fine, interest come and interest go. For this game in particular, completely honest, I have absolutely no idea how much we'll cover just yet. I've been pretty consistent from the very beginning here of this back in 2022 that I loved the campaign. I really disliked the multiplayer, but I also really liked the core of DMZ. So for me, campaign and the story with this and what's upcoming, that next chapter, I'm excited to see where that goes. Multiplayer, we'll talk about details, but I'm still not necessarily sold on things just yet. So I won't say that it's good or bad until I get any hands-on with it. Something that I say every single year is something that all players I feel like should adhere to. Get hands-on when possible, usually a beta, and form an educated and full opinion for yourself. I and many others are just idiots on the internet with a microphone that we can talk about it, but until you get your hands on it and you can see how you feel about it, it means nothing. So we're going to take an objective look at what was presented here at this, and then DMZ, all we know is that it's back and more details are going to be coming up on June 7th, coinciding likely with that Xbox game showcase, which I am intrigued by. Big picture, I've liked the creative freedom we've had recently in expanding outwards to other games and content. I don't know my future with this just yet, especially with plenty of other cool games coming out this year and particularly this fall. We all know that one, but I've always had an affinity for 141 and the gang within Modern Warfare. Looking forward to seeing what's revealed about DMZ, and we'll go from there. So just want to share with you guys this new stuff here, having such a deep history in the franchise, that with something new, if it's for you, that's great. If not, all good too, and we'll see you in the regularly scheduled content as of recently here, upcoming. But anyways, let's start out with the campaign. Let's talk about what they say every single year first and foremost, right? Like they detailed the pillars of this gameplay is king, that it's ripped from the headlines, it's authentic and gritty, so on and so forth. You've heard these talking points year over year. The trailer showcased the campaign here at this, and in our brief, they gave us a bit of a quick recap running through Modern Warfare 2019, Modern Warfare 2, and Modern Warfare 3, then leading into Modern Warfare 4. So the series is living with the consequences of Modern Warfare 3's narrative and that fallout that 141, Price in particular, has also created. He is living with that, going a bit rogue, it seems like. This evidenced by his pickup after a fight of some kind, and ultimately the ending stinger where Ghost is confronting Price, saying he's broken a lot of rules, along with all throughout the seeming pair-up with El Sin Nombre, or Valeria. So interesting to see that kind of crossover. What was detailed is that there are going to be 3 acts within this story. 3 missions in Act 1, 5 and 2, 5 and 3. So 13 seemingly right now in total. And for a story nerd in me that wants to play this all out when it comes out, it seems like most of what we've seen in that trailer and what's been debuted so far is at the furthest looking like Mission 6. So we've got a lot that we seemingly don't know about just yet. We're going to see a bit more globe-trotting, some newer characters introduced, which is definitely cool. There's going to be a grunt squad, as they describe them, which is what you see in that beginning part with the Korean elements of it, where that's going to be interwoven with different storylines. Price on his Vendetta level stuff, which IW kind of laid out a major spoiler for Mission 2, in which, I mean, without spoiling too much, the big bad of who you may have thought leading into this might not be the big bad, but a grunt squad in Korea, Price on his Vendetta runs. Eventually, the two converge, and we'll end up seeing how everything plays out with that fallout of a new global conflict mixed with a no-rules approach Price has kind of adopted, and how one has seemingly led to the other. Now, additionally, they also mentioned the campaign itself will be available offline, which is definitely good. I think that today's day and age, the need to be online, I don't really like that. Maybe that's just like the grouchy old man of the franchise in me, but I've seen so many people like play the campaign and it just dropped progress because you went offline. You lost connection to that server. And especially if they decide to try and push an update or something during that time, well, it seems kind of weird that you're playing something that is not necessarily tied to the internet or requires it in relation to like playing with other players, but then you just lose out on everything there. So like, I'm playing by myself. I don't need that. I don't need the server, so I'm happy to see that's something that's possible. Campaign pause is also going to be a thing here, but the narrative, it seems like we're going to see this probably, as with traditional marketing, hit upon the next couple of months here, building more and more until we eventually see it launch with the game. Now, right now, there's no details or anything about campaign early access. As it stands right now, the last couple of years not including that, I'm not personally expecting it. I would love it, especially in a competitive field of the gaming landscape this year, with GTA 6 following slightly behind schedule on when this is releasing on October 23rd, but we don't quite know about that just yet. If it is something that does eventually transpire, that's something that has been historically announced a little later on down in the marketing. Like, this wasn't something that when we saw it with Modern Warfare 2 for the first time, that we saw it with the initial reveal. That was something that I think was like in July or August, maybe. Might have even been a little later than that. Might have been early September, but that's something that if it is on the table, we're not going to hear about that for a little bit of time still. But let's talk a little bit about multiplayer. Again, personally speaking, I understand if this takes a bit more convincing than the last few years for you guys, and understandably so. Me, personally, same exact way. Words are one thing, action is another. There is some stuff that appears to be promising, but until I get my hands on, I'm going in with absolutely no expectations. For this though, their multiplayer pillars, they said, slick and sophisticated, cinematic firefights, and makes you feel like a badass, with a perfect balance of being highly realistic, dynamic worlds, and fluid and fun gameplay. So again, a lot of just your like PR jargon, the stuff that you pitch to investors, that kind of stuff. But we've heard that all before. But what kind of changes have actually been made to end up making this something that's different than Modern Warfare 2 in particular, as a direct studio sequel, and other projects they've worked on? Well, firstly, one of the big things they talked about was movement, where they said there's two player types, tactical and fast and fluid. They want to see a blend of unmatched weapon feel and unrestricted movement mechanics. This then segueing into a new mantle system, similar to what we saw with the ledge hang mechanics of Modern Warfare 2, but a more refined and less restrictive version of that. This allows for dynamic lean on the ledge hang. You can cancel and quickly mantle, so you can kind of choose whether or not you want to even have that as an option. In motion mantling will allow for a slide out to keep momentum. You can shimmy on a ledge rather than being stationary in the hang, kind of like how in Vanguard you could shift on the mount. So that's sort of, you can move there instead of just hanging and being completely stationary. There's a supine slide that will allow you to slide on your back, which gives you further slide and puts you into that prone position on your back. That's about as much though as what you'll see with the sort of omni movement from what we saw with Black Ops 6 and 7. There's a new mobility course to test all this kind of stuff out that is at launch, which is basically your training course from like COD 4 and Modern Warfare Remastered, but with a lot more vertical parkour. It could be like a good warm-up. I'm not really sure if they're going to gamify this to a degree of like Get High or something like that, where there's a ton of replayability, but beyond setting a best score and not touching it again, it's a cool feature to have. It's just not going to be a priority, but cool addition. For their weaponry and ballistic systems, they call this Ballistic Authority. They're changing how FOV scaling works here at this, where in the past, the weapon has always been the same FOV sort of size, depending on what kind of change you make to your subsidiary FOV. Whether you have the most punched out FOV or the tightest, that weapon model is still going to be the same size. This is now going to scale properly with the FOV that you have, so that it kind of can produce, I mean, the more extreme example is like the COD 4 Pro mods, where you had that massively wide FOV and you saw the entire arms of your operator holding that weapon. Similar in fashion, but not to that degree again. It also looks like something you'll see more warped, semi-fisheye lens style to the edge of your FOV in that camera to make sure players don't lose out on the peripheries, but keep player visibility to scale with the changes to FOV, so they're still the main target. Muzzle smoke is now no longer as prominent in that cone of vision while ADS, which was a big problem for Modern Warfare 2. It appears to be there, but like they cleaned up in the iron sights, in your actual sights themselves. They showcased a bit of an example of a comparing and contrasting that is a bit more cleared up, where it's not getting in the field of view at that point. Depth of field had an update where you can still turn it off, but that depth of field effect doesn't affect the background and the target anymore. It's more so focused on the weapon itself. Weapon interaction with environments was something that was adjusted, where when you approach a wall, it will now properly stow and allow a weapon to like react with the framing of a door and things like that. Different surfaces for different pull-out angles. Hip firing, IW had taken up with the bloom effect that every single game has, right? Like there's that cone of spread that will randomly disperse when hip firing. Long and short of it is that hip firing will now be accurate. Like in real life, even though you can't quite see and have as much precision on where you choose to shoot, wherever that barrel is pointing is where that bullet goes. Same Same thing here, no dispersion or bloom, but more focused control on that. They said they built a realistic simulation of human motion that precisely illustrates where that bullet will go, so you might see a bit more of like your character's arms bobbing and stuff, but it's a bit more realistic to where you're actually going to be shooting. The weapon pointing where you're going to be aiming constantly. Hipfire builds are probably going to be something that I'd say are a bit more important now at this point, although I'm also curious if this is either the most broken thing ever or perhaps a much needed update and something that's like, why didn't we have this before? They detailed what are called Apex attachments, which are new high-tier attachments that unlock at the end of weapon progression and do not count against your 5 attachment slots for created class. The attachments detailed were the Mojave 357, had a fan fire mode, so your revolver has that old Western-style quick shooter. The Oris 8.6 has throwing knives with quick detach, so like instantaneous, almost seeming like hit scan throwing knives. The Sang 9mm has an underbarrel shotgun mounted to the frame. The ISO Nightshade has a smart tracker, which allows players to track other players at the expense of penetration and bullet velo. The X58 Nyx, or NYX, has a stealth conversion with an integral suppressor, making it the quietest weapon at launch, where hit markers don't show immediately. The Warlord shotgun will have a strobe flashlight, with that being a disorienting effect for players. The Cronin Squall makes a return, where it has a laser-guided munitions system with a built-in range fire to launch launcher ammo. The M4 has the Hurricane conversion returning, where that's going to be chambered in 5.7 by 28mm, a P90 style magazine to turn it into an SMG, and the Kastov 7.62 ends up having an EMP barrel, which allows you to counter kill streaks and equipment. Other details about loadouts at launch: the content itself, they detailed 28 primary weapons, 8 secondaries, 1 melee, and 28 apex attachments with 500 plus overall, 17 kill streaks plus a nuke for that 30 kill streak, 11 field upgrades, 11 lethals, 9 tacticals, and 18 perks. Loadouts, you can equip any operator to any class this time around, so theoretically if you have 10 classes, each have their own primary operator you can choose, you can have 10 different operators on the field. You have a primary, secondary, melee, tactical, lethal, field upgrade, perks, and kill streaks to work with, and you have a new feature called Gunny, which is a new generative system for weapon builds based off of certain playstyles that will automatically build to that sort of archetype of what you're trying to play for with the given attachments you have unlocked. So you'll get a different build if you have something that is entirely unlocked and you have that fully progressed, that you have all the attachments, versus somebody that's on like level 15 or something like that of the weapon. Cool feature and idea. I don't know how much this is actually going to get used too much. It's quite possible that I'm just like one of those people that has obviously played COD way too long. I know the intricacies of builds. I know how to make a build, that I don't focus on any sort of like set baseline. But for the average player, the average Joe off the street, it might be very much so useful. To me, I think this is a very niche thing that partially feels like just another reason to justify adding AI systems into your game, but that could be me. Maybe I'm just a bit cynical. Prestige is reimagined here with this, where it's not like they're getting rid of it and they're not returning to a seasonal system like we saw within Modern Warfare 2019 and all that kind of stuff. But Prestige is returning in a different capacity, where you have classic Prestige versus regular Prestige. Two options that you can choose from upon prestiging, where the difference is that classic resets your unlocks and allows you to go from, let's say, theoretically 1 to 55 again, but the regular Prestige system does not reset your unlocks, while you still do have to go through 1 to 55. So like that leveling track does not change. It's just a matter of, do you choose to re-unlock your things as you go along, or do you have it just unlocked as you go? Like, you don't have to touch anything. The difference is there's a little more bonuses here with this. The classic resets everything, but gives you 20% XP boost for the entire way, plus 1 permanent unlock token and a mastery reward. They detailed for that particular Prestige is like a classic ghost skin versus just a regular ghost skin, which is probably just a placeholder. So Prestige is always going to be part of this progression. It's just now resetting everything is optional. Interesting way to take it, but I guess I'm intrigued. I'm curious to see how this will play out with the masses. Maps and modes, you have 12 maps: Silkworm, Reactor, Rooftops, Mumbai, Lithium, Muni, Cachette, Nautical, Lotus, Sentry, Coal, and Transit 213. 12 modes, you have TDM, Domination, Hardpoint, Kill Confirmed, Free-for-all, Counterattack, Inflation, and Hijack. There are going to be hardcore variations of these and other modes, like Search and Destroy being a round-based mode. Gunfight and Gunfight 10v10 are also coming. Big War, which is your larger modes, are going to be Combat Outpost and Frontal Assault. And party modes, you have Gun Game and Drop Zone. Now, Kill Block is going to be something that you're going to see things like 10v10. It's a map that's built out for this sort of experimental play, but it's a live fire training facility where the map changes between multiple layouts mid-match, upwards of, I think they said, like 500 different combinations, which is kind of crazy, but you have iconic set pieces and new areas. So things like Storage Town from Verdansk is partially in there. The Woods map from Modern Warfare 2019 Gunfight is there. Kill House, Crash, and a few other from prior titles also going to be in there. And it's like 3 different segments, thirds of the maps that will be rotating in there, that no one match is going to be exactly the same, which is pretty cool, I think. It's a really ambitious idea, but I mean, maybe it works. We'll see. Then, as for other details, quality of life stuff, feeder mode will be there, making it, I think, the first since Modern Warfare 3 for Infinity Ward? No? I'd love this if this is a thing in DMZ, but likely just in MP. Weapon build sharing will be returning. Offline shader compilation will be something available so you don't have to wait in menus while you boot up the game. They're working on the update requires restart system so that that's no longer as prominent, if a thing at all. Matchmaking, they're not ruling out open matchmaking like we saw in Black Ops 7, but Omni movement as a whole is pulled by comparison. There's a bunch of things they detailed as community-focused details like Classic Prestige, Classic Perks, Destructible Riot Shield, not being invincible this time around, red dots on the minimap, Ninja is a perk, map voting, slide canceling, slide to ADS, sprint to mantle assist, and an adjusted attachment philosophy, i.e. they're getting rid of the platform system that we had within Modern Warfare 2. Then work in progress items, they said improved enemy visibility, map lighting improvements, improved quality of life on equipment, an underhand grenade roll, so probably for a lighter toss, weapon tuning passes, and then the ability to sprint out of a slide. Ultimately, this is the most, kind of on the fence that I think I've been in relation to their offering with this, and then also just the multiplayer offering in general, because there are definitely promising changes, but right now, all it is words. Like, I'm sure that I'm going to get a ton of comments even just talking about this game, being like, how can you fall for this again? It's that same mentality, man. Like, I get it. Like, it's something that we have absolutely been burned in the past, and that's why I'm not necessarily as excited for this as I would be, like, 3, 4, 5 years ago, you know? With a unified engine, with a cohesive experience, you're not getting much change year over year over year. I think for me, a lot of COD since 2022 is just kind of blended together if you look at it big picture. Like, there's not as much defining factors game over game. People who did play the game, again, I have not, have mentioned that it feels like a Modern Warfare 2019 with Modern Warfare 3 movement and mechanic set, which is definitely nicer to hear compared to what we saw with Modern Warfare 2, where they slowed everything down. But I personally don't know how this feels. Like I said, to me, they have to earn my playtime. What I've heard so far sounds promising, given older multiplayer iterations from IW and how it didn't quite gel with me, but until I get my hands on, I'm straight up just taking this as statements. You can tell me what you want to tell me, but I'm gonna see it for myself and believe it or not believe it when I get hands on. This has no bearing on my effect on what I think of the game just yet. It's just what it is. Frankly, as we've touched on in the past, my general intrigue in grinding a multiplayer like this has kind of fallen greatly in the last few years, so hey man, if I like it, I'll play it. If not, I'll move on. Lord knows we have a ton of great offerings this fall, with one additional looming giant coming out shortly after this one, so it's not the end of the world. DMZ, though, to round out what we learned about here today, is honestly, admittedly, what I'm waiting for the most, I think. I've said it for years that I think that DMZ is a great, easy entry into the extraction genre for players, whether people like the sort of general push the industry is making towards this or not. That's not something that you or I can really control. But let's be real, COD is the McDonald's of games. Easily digestible, has something for everybody, and available to everybody, right? In that same vein, extractions are a notoriously niche and a sort of pit of hardcore knowledge about the game needed to really feel immersed in it. You bring a version of that that's easy to digest, and you've got an entry level to the genre that many people can find interest in before maybe moving further down that rabbit hole into. Now, DMZ 1.0 was a beta at launch and frankly wasn't really upkept nearly as much as I think that it should have been. So pending the complexity, the runway of development here for this, it's possible this could be a hit, I think. All we have currently are the images cycling on screen with the following description. DMZ is the definitive Call of Duty extraction experience, a living combat arena where every deployment is a new story. Deploy solo or with a squad into a volatile conflict zone as an off-the-books asset tasked with recovering advanced military technology left in the wake of the war. The conditions in the exclusion zone are always shifting with changing weather, dynamic military objectives, and hostile forces moving throughout the zone. Loot, fight, negotiate, betray, and extract with whatever you can carry. The harder you push, the harder the world pushes back. Every run is a risk, every encounter is a choice, and no two deployments play out the same way. So, kind of a generalistic perspective here with this. You can maybe pick apart a few things that are cool to hear about. Solo or with a squad obviously being nice. being something that has dynamic and changing weather is something that's fascinating as well based off that description. So I'm very curious how that is going to adjust the, I guess, raid over raid experience, but that's all that we really have about that. So not a whole ton. We do know that there's going to be more coming on the 7th, so that coinciding, again, likely with, I can't imagine they do their own standalone thing here at this, with the Xbox showcase on June 7th. So we'll have a lot more details to cover on that. And again, that, especially given that we've talked so much about Arc Raiders and the sort of common man's extraction here the last couple of months since the launch of that game, I'm very excited to see what this can be, because I'm loving that gameplay loop. That's kind of the primary audience of the channel the last few months, is this extraction shooter genre. So I'm excited to see where that goes. But anyways, that's what we learned here today out of the Modern Warfare 4 reveal. Again, don't know how much we're going to cover going into the future here outside of maybe just like the major things. Probably not going to be putting up daily Modern Warfare 4 content like I would have in years past, but that's something we'll see how everything unfolds here. But for now, let me know your thoughts down below. Are you guys looking forward to what we had shown? Is it something you're skeptical of, cautiously optimistic, whatever? Let me know how you're feeling. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so it's a single thing running all things, maybe Modern Warfare 4, and potentially, again, I'm more so excited in DMZ, but a ton of other FPS content as well. I'd love to have in the community. For now, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.